Hi, and welcome to the Scientist Sage Sangha from Wise Heart Wellness. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are exploring autumn tonight. Just the idea of autumn. It is that time of year in the Northern Hemisphere anyway. And there's lots of interesting things that happen around this time of year. And I wanted to talk both about the science and the sage. So we're going to try and cram it all in. But first of all, just the idea of autumn. There's so many different opinions. Some people, it's their very favorite kind of season, and they love all the, color and the change in the world and in their world, and the, settling in, all those kinds of things. And then other people are like, oh no, I'm losing summer. How will I survive the winter? And, it varies. It varies what kind of job you work. It varies what kind of, weather you like, what kind of hobbies you employ, all those sorts of things. But beyond that, I want to take you back a little further than just our current sort of orientation to autumn. And back in ancient shamanic times, there was this wonderful rhythm of just living with the cycles, and the cycles of birth and death, and not just the, our own birth and our own death, but all the cycles of birth and death that we would go through in a year through the seasons. And then people were attached to nature, and so nature could guide us and inform us about sort of how to move through this, and all the spiraling down and the rising up from it. And there was lots of ceremony and ritual and lore about those things. And we don't move with those things so much anymore. So we can, feel like dragging our feet, or we can literally feel distress that we can't adapt fast enough, or that we can't control. And lots of people try and control, and they fly off to somewhere where it's not this season. They do things like use lights inside that make it feel like the same light is there all the time. Even with the lesser light in the evening, they can light up their homes. We warm our homes. We're not as exposed to the cold, all sorts of things like that. But there is this real other part of it, where fall is also the season of the soul. And it really is the movement out of the expansion, sort of moving back in like this. And really, we can imagine it as a loss, or we can imagine it as a time to reflect. And this, in many, many cultures, for hundreds of thousands of years, this has been a time to celebrate all things that have happened to us during the year, and prepare to go forward through a different kind of time. And when we can relax into that and really embrace it, there's so many things that we can get out of it. One of the rituals that I loved from the Waldorf schools, where there were two things that they did. In November, they would have a lantern walk. And it literally was St. Martin taking the light into the darkness of that time, and all the little children be walking with lanterns. And what a wonderful thing to teach our children, that we carry our light in, and we can move into the season with a light heart, and not by ourselves. We can do it together, and that's what celebrating the time of year is all about as well. And the other things, just about the time of reflection. It's a time to sit down for a bit. Okay, I'm just going to mute Normandy again. Oh, sorry. There we go. There was a strange noise because they have too many electrical devices too close to each other. Sorry about that. It did make a nice kind of sound background for what we were talking about, however. Kind of some magic sound back there. And so, but this idea of reflecting, and I'd invite people to reflect about what things have moved with them and through them for the last year, and writing it down just to get a picture of it, even to draw a physical picture of it, and see where your year has gone. And not the not to achieve what things did I achieve, not that kind of reflection. Reflection can make us grateful for what we've experienced and also what we can release and what we can release at this time. And it might be things like projects that didn't work out or you just didn't get to them. It might be things that maybe there's seasons of friendships that you're loosening from. Maybe there's things that you're goods, physical, material things that you're letting go of at this time. It's a really wonderful time. Just like the leaves, are let go from the tree, we can let go parts of our lives and move on and move forward. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful time for doing that. Taking the time over these next couple of months to just sit in the darkness and let ourselves evolve. So that kind of experience and idea about it. There's a lovely woman at Camille. I gotta check her name again. No. It's the Whole Woman Mystery School, okay? And she talks about, we don't grow by avoiding those things. We literally move into them, embrace them, and move into an ascension of our next evolution of us. And we can feel that energy moving if we just open up to it. And in ancient times, there were so many people guiding us. There would be shamans and medicine people and wise women, and they would help guide people through these kinds of things. And they would really celebrate when they moved through some sort of spiral and started to ascend in different ways. And we don't have that so much anymore, but we can create it for ourselves. And so the kinds of things might be just being present with your present. And because it's fall, no matter how you cut it, we are not going back. We might have a few more warm days yet. Who knows? With climate warming, we might have a different kind of change happening as well. But the earth is tilted. It's different. We cannot resist this. And a lot of the time it is about letting that go. And in our modern culture, we actually resist it. We want this one direction, always upward kind of ascension, so that we're not losing things or letting things go, or just, stacking them on top of each other and raising higher and higher. That's not actually how it goes. It's not a linear process. Our life cycles, the cycles of nature, the cycles of the planet are all circular. And so if we can relax into that circular cycle, we can move into those places. Some of us may be taking things into this season where it's going to get very dark, and dark at night and dark in them. It is often about the time that there's a dark night of the soul. And you guys don't know it, but you have been accompanying me in my ascension out of a dark place that's lasted for just about 10 years. And I was contemplating that as I was writing this up, and this fall was coming. And I was thinking, wow, this cycle is still going up, and I'm going into a different time of it in this spin around the earth this time. And so if we can really embrace whatever's going on, the idea of we'll pick it up and then we'll release, we can move forward. And the idea of birthing something new, we have to tune into what it is for us. This isn't a matter of like, wait, I have to figure out some great new project to do over the winter. That's not the energy of it, really. It really is this opening up to some other things. And when we enter that, we can intentionally review and rest, realign, and re-energize. So when we review, we literally might say, there may be projects that are sitting on my desk or around my house, because I do have a lot of projects, and I may decide to put them down for a while or put them down permanently, but it's like a review. And then I decide how to rest at this time of year. And this is challenging for lots of people. Sometimes we have a lot of things, our schedules are picking up. And how are we going to rest through this time? Luckily, it gets dark earlier and it gets light later in the day. And that actually encourages us, invites us to have longer rest periods. But if we don't respond to that, then we really have to think about how are we going to take this cycling? How can we move restfully through this time of the year? Because unfortunately, what happens is often it really gears up towards the holidays and those kinds of things. And so there's a real need to remember, okay, what am I really supposed to be doing? Not what would, make me feel like I looked good, not what would make me, stand out and be on top of the pile, but what does my soul want right now? What does my soul want? And all these ideas, and all of these ideas are so personal. Like I say, in my experience right now, I'm still moving in an ascending pattern, but there's a cycle of the seasons moving on top of it. And so I will put some things aside for this season, and I will open up to what might be there for me right now. I like to do a lot of spiritual work and through the fall and through the dark times, the light dark times. I'm talking about those. But if you have some difficult dark times, good time to do spiritual work too. So this idea of being nurtured and relaxing in this part of time, just going outside can be doing that, because nature is like, come on and see what the party looks like out here. Just step out here, smell the difference. There's lots of things, invitations for us to engage in that way. And again, though, it has to be your particular personality and your path, and questioning if there are things that you are resisting, what is the best way to be with them? And it might be that I ask for guidance about, how is this something I really should be hanging on to? Or is this something I can be releasing? Lots of people experience a greater field of emotion at this time. And I was working with some people the other day that were having that experience. We were talking about how they were going to move through it through the season. And there were some amazing ideas, like just doing regular check-ins with their bodies about, am I feeling that tiredness? And some people talked about finding the cold making them more tired. And so if that's the case, how do I deal with that? Do I pick out different clothing? All sorts of things like that can go on. And so really take your time. We're going to take, in 2 minutes, we're going to take a little longer time than usual to have a bit of contemplation and really, listen, sift and sort what kinds of things you want to be involved in through the next few months and how you want to come to them. And part is about making space and things like that. To not in the sense of, I'm going to work really hard in the next 3 months, clear everything out of my house. That's not the energy we want to take into this. We want to take it with an open soul. And what's going to feed my soul? What activities and what, lack of activities and things will feed my soul? And I just want to mention some science sort of things, because a lot of people suffer from SADS, the seasonal affective disorder. I certainly find that for myself. And it often points to there's things that we don't have that we need. And it might be as simple as vitamin D. And it might be more tricky in the sense of, we actually have a biological thing happening in our body that makes us feel more tired and actually depressed. And we need to hold those things well. And so this doesn't mean that we don't attend to those things. This is a time to hold those emotions very gently, very compassionately. And there's a number of things that I suggest, just a quick list that is on the email. We're going to go through it really fast. but it is in the email if you want to reflect back to it or pass it on to anyone. The first one is sun. So when the sun is out, go meet the sun. It's an invitation, and make it happen, like literally sun on your eyes, sun on your face makes a difference for that. And then sleep is literally, when people are dealing with that sort of depression, biologically based like that, we really need more sleep. And so if we can do that, we can start to get an edge on that kind of SADS experience. And serotonin, foods that promote it. And it can be things like eating turkey, eating oatmeal. There are a number of different things that you can just literally search online, serotonin, improving foods. And there are supplements like tryptophan and 5-HTP that help build serotonin as well. And simplicity. So if you are having a time where it feels hard to get out of bed, or you feel like you're moving really slowly through things, simplifying your life makes a big difference. And it doesn't matter if you do it in the, Mark Zuckerberg way, where you wear the same color t-shirt and pants every day. That works. And it doesn't matter if you, just don't have as many social engagements, or don't make as many commitments, or, cook once a week a big pot of soup and eat it the rest of the week. Whatever it takes to simplify, so you are not overtaxing a system that is already being taxed. And then something to look forward to. That really helps a depressed brain from ruminating on past things, or going into this season, like, seeing the winter stretch out ahead of me, no end in sight, a sad brain can really take that approach. I'm going to a Halloween party. I'm going to a dance. And having had broken legs for most of the year, I'm pretty excited about going dancing. And so when I wrote that, I thought, what have I got planned? I better get on that too. But those kinds of things, and perhaps going to see my son in Los Angeles, where it's nice and sunny still. Their light leaves too, though. They get a lower light, but something to look forward to. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be a small thing. And it might be an old tradition that you share with someone, or it might be going somewhere you've never been in the sort of style of an artist's date, just novelty to amuse yourself. So that idea, though, of having something to look forward to is really useful if you're struggling from SADS. And then a selective focus. And the reason it's a selective focus is you have to choose. With depression, and SADS can come on people and they don't even know what's happened to them. But if people are feeling that coming on, having that selective focus is literally like picking up your focus and going, okay, I'm feeling like there's nothing that's going okay. I need to just take 10 minutes and go, okay, the dog is not barking right now. Excellent. My car is running well. I have a remote car starter. Excellent. Whatever it is, but literally taking your focus and mechanically moving it. Because when SADS hits people, it literally impairs their brain focusing on positive things. It makes you feel like things are negative. And so your brain says, things feel really negative. I'll go find those negative things. And it goes and looks for them. And so if you can say, okay, I know it feels that way, but brain, here's what I want you to do. Just follow this list. Fill out 10 things that are going really well. And your brain will go, okay, I'll look for 10 things that are going really well. And it will really do those things. Our brains are very teleological. Just give them a target and they will look for it. So that's just a brief mention of some things that can be really useful for SADS at this time of year as well. So, okay, let's get on to the contemplation. And just get comfortable. And I'm going to ask you I'm going to invite you to meet whatever is coming up for you at this time. And so it might be that you are encountering SADS, or it might be that you're feeling overwhelmed, or it might be that you're feeling happy about the season coming. Whatever it is, just engage it. invite it in to sit beside you and see what it is. And then we'll have some instructions to see how much fluidity you can get in it. So feel free to go off screen if you're on. Just make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes if you want to imagine things. And take a couple of big breaths. The cold weather always makes me hold my breath. So I practice breathing. And relaxing my body, reassuring my body it doesn't have to pull in the defenses against the cold and the dark, because my body will feel like that often. And just scan your body and listen. Listen to hear if it has any instructions for you about moving through this season well. You might get a little nudge about something, or you might just get a flicker of an image. Or even people have sounds and smells that come up. If a long list comes into your vision, say, not right now. There may be things you need to invite you to move into that sort of part of contemplation of what you're doing after we're done here. For now, just open up. And if you feel a little distressing emotion, you might put your hand on your chest or across your body. And if that persists into the season, it's really useful to have blankets ready, like over the back of your chairs in your living room. So you can, when you sit for a moment, pay attention to what your body needs and do that. And just imagine grounding yourself into the earth. Not the cold, frozen earth, but the earth that actually caresses and keeps all that vitality, helps to ready it for a new round of growth in the spring. Let yourself be steadied by that earth. Let yourself be steadied there for safekeeping. And just as you might be imagining the darkness, the falling away of the light at this time of year, look inward for your own light. That spark of the divine that resides in each of us. And like those small children carrying lanterns in the dark, notice how your light shines out on everything around. And can quite literally warm you from the inside. Connect with that light as well. So that whatever your emotional mood, you can be held in that light and that grounding. And there's nothing you even have to do to reemerge as the season will end. But from that safe place of light and grounding, if you want, if you feel the guidance to, you can open up to what's there. Whether that is that deep soul seeing, or whether it's sitting quietly on your own, connecting deeply with yourself. Know that you're surrounded by those of us in this circle and so many people around the world that are observing and engaging with change. And as we come back, I'm going to share a picture. And the picture is a Celtic symbol called Awen. And it is the balance, the light and the dark, and the balance in the middle. The spirit, the body, the mind. And it's held there in this cycle of the seasons. So these three rays are always there. And we can move into the harmony in the middle, accepting the rays on both sides and staying centered in the middle. And I'll include the picture of this when I send out the notes from this session. I found it a very powerful vision for me. So thank you so much for joining us tonight and exploring this season of autumn. And if you have questions, comments, donations, and topics that you might want to see discussed, please email them to me at scientistsage@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am with you. You are with me. Blessed be. Good night.